Mixed messages continue coming from Washington. On Tuesday, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Washington doesn't want a war with Iran. But Wednesday, a move that raises yet more questions. In a statement, the U.S. State Department said the U.S. State Department has ordered the departure of non-emergency U.S. government employees from Iraq, both at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and the U.S. Consulate in Erbil. It follows undisclosed U.S. intelligence that Shia militias backed by Baghdad and Tehran may be prepared to threaten U.S. interests in Iraq. These same militias recently worked in coordination with U.S. forces to help liberate ISIL-controlled areas of Iraq, including Mosul. The U.S. has already moved an aircraft carrier strike group into the area, B-52 bombers, and there are media reports of U.S. planning for possible large-scale troop deployments. The moves by Washington are part of a maximum pressure campaign against Iran, a year after the U.S. unilaterally pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, which even U.S. officials admit was working. Washington has essentially imposed an oil export embargo against Tehran. The Trump administration has imposed more economic sanctions and labeled Iran's Revolutionary Guards a terrorist organization. Iran's supreme leader says the U.S. would be foolish to consider any military action.
There won't be any war with the help of God. We don't seek a war, and they don't either. They know it's not in their interest.
Iran has denied any confrontational moves and has suggested that various members of the Trump administration, including National Security Advisor John Bolton, whom Tehran labels the Mustache, are trying to engineer a crisis to carry out Bolton's long-held goal of regime change in Iran. U.S. allies and others are resisting talk of military action. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was in Russia on Tuesday. His opposite number, Sergei Lavrov, said he hoped the news of possible U.S. military action was just rumors. The European Union is also rejecting any need for confrontation, instead focusing on diplomacy to save the Iran nuclear deal. In the region, the British deputy commander of the anti-ISIL coalition questioned U.S. intelligence reports.
No, there's been no increased threat from Iranian-backed forces in Iraq and Syria.
That statement led to a lot of pushback from the Pentagon. But as with the build-up to the Iraq War in 2002 and 2003, some of Washington's closest allies are casting doubt on the accuracy of U.S. intelligence. And then there's U.S. President Trump, who campaigned on the issue of pulling U.S. forces out of the Middle East. He called the invasion of Iraq one of the worst mistakes in U.S. history throughout his campaign. The question now is whether the U.S. president will stick to one of his key campaign pledges in the days and weeks to come. Nathan King, CGTN, at the White House.